Melanie paid for her groceries and began to put the food in bags. Her husband, Benjamin, with whom she had been married for 2 weeks, went outside without waiting for her. 5 minutes later, Melanie came out of the store and approached Benjamin, who was smoking at the time. "Benjamin, please help me," asked Melanie, handing 2 large bags of groceries. Her husband looked at her as if he had been forced to do something terrible, and asked in wonder, "Can't you carry it yourself?" Melanie was taken aback by this answer. Usually, a man always provides physical assistance to women, especially his own wife, and it was not normal for a woman to carry heavy bags while her husband was fluttering lightly beside her like a butterfly. "But the bags are heavy," replied Melanie calmly. "So what?" continued to resist her husband. He saw that Melanie was beginning to get angry, but he did not want to carry the bags out of principle. He walked quickly forward, knowing that she would not keep up with him, and pondering on the way. "Does she really think I'm a henpecked? I'm a man, and it's up to me to carry the bags or not. There will be nothing wrong with her if she carries the groceries herself once." Meanwhile, Melanie was just helplessly looking after her husband. The bags were really heavy, and her husband knew this very well, since he had mainly put the groceries into the shopping cart himself. Though she wasn't far from home, about 5 minutes on foot, with the heavy bags the distance seemed enormous. Melanie was almost crying on her way home. She hoped that Benjamin was joking, and now he would turn around and come back for her. But to her great disappointment, she saw him moving farther and farther away from her. Melanie had a great desire to throw the bags away, but she continued to carry them. When she reached the entryway, she stopped to take a break. She wanted to cry from resentment and exhaustion, but she held back tears because she was ashamed to cry outside. Melanie remembered how attentive Benjamin had been half a year ago, and could not believe that the same man had been so cruel to her 10 minutes ago. "Hello, darling." The voice of her neighbour brought Melanie out of her reverie. "Hello," answered the woman. Mrs. Cooper lived 1 floor below, and she had been friends with Melanie's grandmother while she was alive. Melanie had always treated her like another grandmother. When Melanie inherited her grandmother's apartment and faced her first difficulties in life, Mrs. Cooper always helped her with advice. Melanie had nobody to help because her mother lived in another city with her new husband and new children, so her grandmother and Mrs. Cooper were the only close people to her. Suddenly, Melanie had a brilliant idea. Without hesitation, she decided to give all these groceries Mrs. Cooper. The elderly woman's pension was not big. She always bought herself only simple food, and Melanie spoiled her with various delicious treats many times before. "Let's go, I'll walk you to your apartment," said Melanie, picking up the heavy bags again. When she went up to Mrs. Cooper's apartment, Melanie left the packages with her, saying that they were all for her. When the elderly woman saw how much delicious stuff was in the bags, starting with Belgium chocolate and ending with trout steaks, which she loved very much, but could not afford, she was very touched and warmly thanked Melanie. After hugging her goodbye, Melanie went up to her apartment. As soon as she entered, her husband came out to greet her from the kitchen, already chewing something. "Where are the groceries?" he asked, as if nothing had happened. "Which groceries?" asked Melanie in the same tone. "Do you mean the ones you haven't helped me to carry?" "Oh, come on," he tried to joke. "Are you offended by this or what?" "No," replied Melanie calmly to him. "I have simply drawn the right conclusions." Benjamin became wary. He had expected yelling, scandal, tears, and resentment, but Melanie was so calm. Benjamin became uneasy himself. "And what conclusions have you made?" "It turns out I don't have a husband." "I do not understand," said Benjamin, pretending to be insulted to his heart. "So, what's so unclear?" asked Melanie, looking at him pointedly. "I want my spouse to be a man, and you apparently want your spouse to be a man too. Then you need a husband, not me." Benjamin turned red with anger, and he clenched his fists. But Melanie did not see that. She had already gone to their bedroom to gather his belongings. Benjamin resisted to the end and sincerely did not understand how such nonsense could ruin their family. "It was all right. You've carried the bags by yourself. What's the big deal?" resented Benjamin, while Melanie tossed his stuff nonchalantly into the bag. "I hope you can carry at least the bag with your things by yourself," she said stiffly, without even listening to him. Melanie understood. This was only the first warning bell, and if she put up with this situation now, his attitude would become more and more disgusting toward her with subsequent time. So she decided to put a stop to this bullying from the very beginning by kicking her husband out the door and filing for divorce.